This is Art 157, and this is a lesson on sound in Unreal. So if you go into Unreal and we're looking for sounds, there's two different types of sounds, and let's look for the first type. So if we go up into this content browser and do track and search, you'll see we get a couple items that are available, and here are two that this is what we're interested in. If we double click either of these and open it up, you'll see that what it is it's a collection of different sounds. Let me collapse all this, collapse the categories, and we'll go over and gradually look at these because this is all we really need. So UDK map music info, and with the map music you'll see there's a default tempo, and then there's these different elements and different sounds. So intro is basically when you start the game, and it's basically a sound that plays. Ambience when your character is static and not moving at all. Action is when something happens, like you, I don't know, shoot someone or you do a minor goal. Victory is when you win. Tension and suspense have to do with capture the flag, or a game where basically there's you or someone else have a flag. And then there's these things called stingers, and you can see a whole bunch of them. So when you die, there's always a stinger that plays when you do a double kill, etc. So all this stuff can be defined, and right now when we play a game, and I'm just going to do a very basic, simple game here. Actually, we'll just use this one as a way to do it. World properties. Let's turn off our light mass. Let's close up this other stuff, global illumination. So all we want to do is, if I go back to world properties, there is a thing called world info, and this is where you can type in the title and authors. So when you actually go to publish a game, this is where the spaces are. And then there's my map info. So if we open this up and we do UT map info, and then we open that up and we open up UT map info again, you can see there's a map music info option. So let's go back to our browser and make this so it's not as big, and I'll highlight, go down DM, and I will load this up. And now if I build all, and then we play, once it's done, generate the lighting in the scene. Okay, let's go and let's play the scene and see what happens. There's no sound at all and you don't hear anything. And that's because we haven't defined a game type. So it has to be an Unreal game type of deathmatch, capture the flag, those types of things. So let's just do audio test. Let's save. And now if I go hit play, so you hear the music, and depending on what happens, so that's what you basically get, is you can see there's a different type of music. So let's just look at another one. So let's grab the other UT map music, and we'll go back and we'll pull up the world options for that so you can hear the difference. If you hit this icon right here, it clears, and what I'm doing is I'm highlighting in the browser and I'm hitting the green arrow. And now if we hit play, here it's a different type of music, more subtle, but the same thing. So this is kind of handy to know, and like I said, this isn't something that's heavily documented, but I just wanted you to be aware of it because that's a major element. So they used to call these music tracks in UT3 before they made UDK, and now they just call them UT map info. And if for some reason you want to make one relatively easy, you would just you want to go new, and then factory are different types of items that you would create. So if you go all the ways down, there's a UDK map music info, and that's how you would make it. So let's choose this. I haven't talked about packages much, but let's create a package called Snyder package. And what this is this is a file. I'll show you in a second. Sounds, and then music track 1. Make sure there's no spaces in any names because Unreal won't recognize it. And if we hit OK, you can see here we are. Now everything's empty at this point, but here's the custom track that we can work with. And you'll see that there's an asterisk next to it, which means that it hasn't been saved. So if I right click and do save, I can choose wherever I want to save these. When I have packages, I put them into the custom folder, personal ones, and then you can see the extensions .upk and hit save. And now, if just to go show you where that is, if we go into the D drive and open up UDK, and we keep on going and go into content and maps, custom, you can see here there's the package. And just to let you know about the different types of packages, if you go into UT3 environment, here are all the basic packages that are bringing you lights and I don't know, any different types of textures and static meshes you can bring in. So basically you're creating your own. So the thing you have to remember is whenever you're playing whenever you want anyone else to play a level, you need to not only submit your map, your UDK file, but you also need to submit your UPK package file as well, because people need to have the content if it's custom. Okay, let's take a look at Audacity. And I brought in this file. Let's just bring it in again. This is a free program, and the nice thing about it is you can basically use it to convert any audio file, because you can cut and edit, you can do different things. We're looking at a waveform, just a couple of comments and notes. As you'll see, this says mono. Mono means there's one channel as opposed to stereo. You also have surround sound. All those can basically be saved for Unreal. Now 32-bit is basically the number of samples that people do across up and down on the amplitude of the sound wave when they digitize it. And then across the frequency, that's basically your hertz. So 44.1 is kind of standard. 32-bit floats actually overkill, and Unreal prefers 14-bit. So we can bring this in, and the reason why I'm converting it is if I go to export this, I can save it as a wave, and you'll see it converts it over to a 16-bit file. There's some other settings, but for the most part, the thing you want to remember is 16-bit wave is kind of what you want to go for. So I'll hit save, and you can see we have some different, we can add some metadata to it, etc., which isn't necessary. We'll empty out of this, we'll close out of this Audacity. And now what we'll do is I'll show you how you can import this to bring your own sound. And just be aware that sound files are really big. So we'll go into import. And let me go up to desktop and find the sound file. And there it is. And if you forget what file formats or anything, you can always open this up and you see there's your multi-channel sound. That's the only option you have for sound as far as an importable asset for the program. And hit open, and then we want to do the package, so we have that Snyder package. I can type this in, or I can go down and find it, just right there, and then sound, and then I'm just going to say the air raid siren, hit OK. And now what it creates is it creates things called a sound node. And if I double click this, it'll play it. And what I can do, let me just stop that. What I can do is I can basically drag this into a scene. So I just simply grab the sound and bring it in. And now you'll see there's an actual placeholder in the scene for that sound. And if I go and I play the scene from right here, the sound, and the further away it gets, it gets quieter. So what we're doing is when we bring in a basic audio file, as you'll see there's some different settings and different controls. So this is the file that came in. Attenuation is on, that basically causes the volume to change based on distance. Spatialization enables it to be 3D. And then you can do the distance and also the fall off. So if you want to do natural sound, which is basically attenuation in the real world, and then anything outside of 5,000, a radius of 5,000, you will not hear the sound. And then between 2,000 and 5,000 is when the attenuation starts. So you have some control, and then you can do changes in the pitch and the volume and then the weight, which is if you have multiple ones, which ones are stronger, and it's basically like a little mixer. So this is the old version. Now, in order to have more control, what they created are things called sound cues. So if I right click and I do new sound cue, and I'll just call this air raid Q. Okay. We'll get this thing that actually looks, when we look at the materials, is kind of similar. So if I highlight the node and right click, I can add in the sound no wave. So you can see there's the air raid siren. And if I hit play, okay, so there's the sound. Now if I want to, this is basically what you output when you're all done. So you can add a whole bunch of different things to this. So if for some reason I want to do an oscillator, which would change the sound, I can go from air raid siren into the oscillator, come out of the oscillator, and then go into the speaker. And let's see if we can change this. So I'm going to modulate both of those, and we'll just do some random numbers to get this going. And let's find out what the final sounds like. Okay, so you can see it's completely doing crazy things to the sound as far as how it's going. And we can obviously change other elements as well. So you have a lot of control with this. If I do something like the mixer, you can combine different sounds. This basically plays one sound and then the other. Attenuation and gain is basically pitch, those types of things. Oscillator, random. So there's a lot of controls. And then if you go to sound no wave parameter, this one actually enables you to talk to Kismet. So you can use scripting to actually control stuff. So that's how that works. And once you have the sound cue, do the same thing and drag it in. And this time, if I go up and I pull up properties, you'll see this is called an ambient sound. The one where you just bring in the node is called sound simple. So the ambient sound, you can also see it's a different color. If we go and look at the controls and the audio components, all you can do is load the cue, and then you can do a little bit of adjustments with volume and pitch, and that's it. And that's understandable because the idea is basically you're going to go into your cue. If you right click and you do, where is it, edit package, edit using sound cue editor, you go in, this is where you're going to make all the changes as opposed to the sound node where you actually do it in the properties. So those are the basic setups of sound, and you can obviously play around with this a lot. And if you're curious which sounds actually come with the program, if you go into UDK and we go into content and we go into UT3 and scroll down to sounds, you'll see there's a whole bunch of sounds that exist and ship with them. A lot of these are sound effects, but you'll see sometimes there's a sound cue, sometimes there's a sound wave. If it's placed in the scene, it's probably a cue. A lot of these, A stands for audio, characters, this is a character sound like different footsteps, those types of things. But if you go, you can go through and you see there's different noise, there's gameplay sounds, there's the two tracks that we looked at. Some of the elements, like the music, some of the elements that made up those tracks. Pickup sounds, power-up sounds, etc. So there's a good amount of stuff that exists there, but like I said, if you want to bring in some other ones, you can as well. So that concludes this demo.